There is a moment, a quiet moment where nothing is said, but everything is understood. You don't text it. You don't confess it. You don't even admit it to yourself, but you feel it, because when two people want each other, the energy speaks first. And if you pay attention, there are clear signs. When two people truly want each other, the first thing that changes is the energy. It's subtle but unmistakable. The room feels different when you're together. Conversations flow without effort, yet every word feels heavier, more meaningful. You become more aware of your tone, your body language, your presence. Even simple moments feel heightened. This isn't imagination or coincidence, it's emotional awareness responding to mutual attraction. Your mind becomes alert because something important is happening beneath the surface, something unspoken yet deeply felt by both of you at the same time. You may notice how your attention sharpens when they enter the space, distractions fade, your phone feels less important. Background noise disappears. You listen more closely, even when they're saying ordinary things. Their reactions matter more than they should. This focused awareness isn't forced, it happens naturally. That's because attraction pulls attention effortlessly. When energy shifts like this, it's a sign that both people are emotionally present. You're not just sharing space, you're sharing a moment charged with meaning that neither of you can ignore. Silence plays a powerful role in this energy change. With most people, silence feels awkward or empty. But with someone you mutually desire, silence feels full. You don't rush to fill it. There's comfort, tension, and curiosity all at once. Eye contact lingers, small gestures feel amplified, even breathing feels synchronized. This kind of silence doesn't come from boredom, it comes from connection. It's the kind of pause where emotions are speaking louder than words. When silence feels intense instead of uncomfortable, it reveals a shared emotional awareness. Your body reacts before your mind understands what's happening. You might sit up straighter, become more aware of your expressions, or feel a slight nervousness without knowing why. Your heart rate changes subtly. You smile more easily. These reactions aren't random. They're signals that your nervous system recognizes mutual interest. Attraction is as much physical and emotional as it is mental. When both people experience these shifts at the same time, it creates an invisible pull that feels natural, grounding, and hard to dismiss. Time behaves differently when this energy is present. Moments stretch longer, yet pass quickly. A short interaction feels significant. A brief conversation stays in your mind long after it ends. You replay words, looks, and tones without trying to. This happens because emotional energy creates memory. When two people want each other, even ordinary interactions leave an impression. That's why you remember small details vividly. The experience feels important, even if nothing big happened. Emotional intensity makes time feel meaningful rather than routine. Another sign within this energy shift is emotional sensitivity. You become more aware of how your words might affect them. You notice their mood changes quickly, their happiness lifts you, their distance unsettles you. This sensitivity doesn't mean dependency. It means emotional attunement. Both of you are subconsciously monitoring each other's reactions. That only happens when mutual interest exists. Your emotions are lightly intertwined, responding to one another without deliberate effort. This shared sensitivity creates a quiet bond that deepens every interaction. You may also feel a calm tension at the same time. It's not anxiety and it's not excitement alone. It's a controlled intensity. You feel comfortable yet alert, relaxed yet aware. This balance happens when attraction is mutual and restrained. Neither of you is rushing or overwhelming the other. The energy feels stable, not chaotic. That's an important distinction. Real mutual desire doesn't feel desperate or confusing. It feels grounded, steady, and quietly powerful, like something building rather than something burning out. What's interesting is that this energy doesn't require constant communication. Even brief interactions carry weight. A look across the room can feel like a conversation. A small smile can linger in your thoughts. You don't need constant reassurance because the connection is felt, not proven. This is why mutual attraction often feels obvious to the people experiencing it, even if nothing has been said. The energy itself becomes a form of communication, silently confirming what both already sense. In conclusion, when the energy changes between two people, it's one of the clearest signs of mutual desire. You feel more present, more aware, and more emotionally connected without effort. Silence feels meaningful, attention sharpens, and time carries weight. These shifts aren't forced or imagined, they're natural responses to shared attraction. When both people experience this change simultaneously, it creates a powerful, unspoken understanding. You don't need words to confirm it because the energy itself already tells the truth. When both people want each other, something unusual happens, neither rushes forward. Instead of chasing, oversharing, or demanding clarity, both pause. You think twice before sending a message. You reread texts before replying, not because you're uninterested, but because the connection matters. There is an awareness that moving too fast could disturb something fragile and meaningful. This restraint is often misunderstood as uncertainty, but it's actually respect mixed with desire. When attraction is mutual, people instinctively protect it rather than rush to consume it. This holding back is driven by fear, but not the shallow kind. It's the fear of losing balance. You don't want to appear desperate. You don't want to give too much too soon. At the same time, you don't want to seem distant, so you walk a careful line. They do the same. This mutual hesitation creates a quiet tension where both are waiting, watching, and feeling. If only one person cared, they would push harder. Mutual desire creates patience because both sense that timing matters. You might notice how conversations stay slightly guarded, feelings are hinted at, not declared, compliments are subtle, not overwhelming. Personal stories are shared carefully, as if testing the emotional waters. This isn't emotional unavailability, it's emotional intelligence responding to attraction. When you value something, you approach it with caution. Both people sense the depth of what could develop, so they slow themselves down. This shared restraint is a silent agreement. This matters enough not to ruin. Another reason both people hold back is vulnerability. Expressing desire openly means risking rejection, imbalance, or loss of control. When attraction is mutual, both feel that risk equally. You don't want to be the first to expose your emotions completely, not because you're playing games, but because you're human. You want reassurance without asking for it, so you wait, and they wait too. This mirrored hesitation is often one of the strongest indicators that feelings exist on both sides. What's important to understand is that this restraint doesn't feel empty, it feels full. There's anticipation in every interaction. You feel the urge to say more, do more, show more, but you don't, and neither do they. That tension builds connection rather than weakening it. Each interaction leaves you wanting slightly more. If only one person wanted the other, impatience would replace this calm waiting. Mutual desire creates controlled momentum instead of reckless speed. This holding back also shows itself in boundaries. Both people respect space without needing to demand it. There's no pressure for constant communication. If time passes between messages, it doesn't feel threatening, it feels intentional. That's because neither person is trying to secure the other through force. You both sense interest is already there. The restraint comes from confidence in the connection, not fear of losing it. That's a subtle but powerful difference that many people overlook. You may even feel moments of frustration with yourself. You'll think, why didn't I say that? Or why didn't I show more interest? But at the same time, you understand why you didn't. Something inside tells you to move carefully. That inner voice isn't doubt, it's awareness. They experience the same thing. Mutual desire often creates internal conflict between wanting closeness and wanting to maintain emotional safety. That shared struggle keeps both people measured and attentive. This dynamic often confuses outsiders. From the outside, it may look slow or uncertain, but from the inside, it feels intense and deliberate. You sense progress even when nothing obvious happens. That's because emotional movement doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's happening quietly through restraint, awareness, and patience. When both people are holding back in the same way, it creates symmetry. And symmetry in behavior often reflects symmetry in feeling. In conclusion, when both people hold back instead of chasing, it's rarely a lack of interest. More often, it's proof of mutual desire combined with emotional awareness. Each person is protecting the connection by moving carefully. This restraint creates tension, depth, and anticipation rather than distance. If only one person wanted more, imbalance would show quickly. But when both pause, hesitate, and measure their actions, it reveals something real is forming, something worth handling with care rather than rushing to claim. When attraction is mutual, attention flows without effort. You don't remind yourself to care, it happens naturally. You notice when they're quiet, when their tone changes, when something feels off. Your mind gravitates toward them even during busy moments. This kind of attention isn't forced or obsessive. It's calm, steady awareness. You don't chase their presence, yet you value it deeply. When both people want each other, attention becomes instinctive, guided by emotional interest rather than conscious intention. You begin to remember small details without trying. Things they mentioned once stay with you. Preferences, habits, expressions, and stories settle in your memory naturally. This happens because emotional interest strengthens focus. The brain prioritizes what matters. You don't need to write things down or make an effort to recall them. They surface on their own. When this attention is mutual, both people feel seen, not overwhelmed, not questioned, simply recognized in a quiet, reassuring way. Time becomes something you offer rather than negotiate. You don't feel burdened by making space for them. You adjust your schedule instinctively, not in a way that disrupts your life, but in a way that includes them naturally. When both people feel this way, there is no resentment or imbalance. Neither feels they are giving more. Attention and time flow evenly, reinforcing connection without pressure or expectation. Presence becomes the defining quality of your interactions. When you're with them, you're truly there. You listen without waiting to speak. You respond instead of reacting. Distractions lose their grip. This presence isn't intense or performative. It's relaxed and focused. Mutual attraction creates a state where both people feel safe being fully present. That presence communicates care more clearly than words ever could. You may notice that effort disappears. There's no strategy, no calculation, no emotional performance. You don't worry about saying the perfect thing. You simply show up as you are. That authenticity invites the same from them. When attention comes naturally on both sides, interaction feels easy, not shallow, but unforced. This ease is often mistaken for lack of excitement, but it's actually emotional alignment working smoothly. This natural attention also respects individuality. You don't feel the need to control their time or demand constant reassurance. You trust the connection because it feels steady. When they're busy, you understand. When you're unavailable, they respect it. Mutual attraction allows attention without possession. It's interest without insecurity. Both people remain emotionally engaged while still grounded in their own lives. Another sign of natural attention is emotional responsiveness. You care about their reactions not to please them, but because they matter to you. Their joy feels rewarding, their discomfort feels noticeable. You don't fixate, but you respond. This balance is important. It shows emotional maturity alongside attraction. When both people experience this responsiveness, it creates emotional safety, allowing the connection to grow without fear. Even in absence, attention remains. You don't constantly think about them, but they cross your mind naturally. Not as distraction, but as warmth, a memory, a smile, a thought. This gentle mental presence reflects genuine interest. When attention is mutual, there's no anxiety in distance. The connection doesn't disappear when interaction pauses. It simply rests, confident in its foundation. In conclusion, when attention comes naturally without effort, it's a powerful sign of mutual desire. You remember details, offer time, remain present, and respond emotionally without forcing anything. There is balance, respect, and ease. Neither person feels drained or pressured. Instead, both feel seen and valued. This kind of attention doesn't demand proof or reassurance. It exists quietly, steadily confirming that what you feel is shared and deeply real. When attraction is mutual, it rarely stays invisible to the outside world. Even if nothing is said, people around you begin to notice subtle shifts. The way conversations pause when you're together, the way your attention naturally gravitates toward each other, the way energy in the room changes. Others may not know what it is, but they sense something different. This awareness doesn't come from dramatic gestures. It comes from consistent, quiet signals that appear whenever two people share a connection deeper than friendship. Friends often notice it before you do. They observe the way you respond to each other's presence, how your expressions soften, how your tone changes. They may comment casually, tease lightly, or ask questions that seem to come out of nowhere. These observations aren't random. People are surprisingly good at reading emotional undercurrents. When two people want each other, their behavior aligns in ways that feel noticeable to outsiders, even if the individuals involved are still uncertain or silent about their feelings. Group settings make this even more apparent. When you're both present, the dynamic subtly shifts, conversations flow differently. There's an unspoken awareness of each other's reactions. Laughter feels more shared, moments feel slightly charged. Others may feel like they're witnessing something unfinished or unresolved. This doesn't require physical closeness or obvious flirting. Emotional alignment creates patterns that stand out naturally. When people around you begin to sense something, it's often because your connection is expressing itself without your conscious control. Sometimes this awareness shows up as curiosity. People ask how long you've known each other or whether something is going on. These questions aren't based on evidence but on feeling. Humans are wired to notice emotional symmetry. When two people mirror attention, energy, and engagement, it creates coherence. That coherence is readable. Others may not be able to explain it, but they trust their perception. Their curiosity reflects what you both already feel internally. At times, others may feel slightly uncomfortable without knowing why, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because strong emotional connections can be felt even by those not involved. It's like witnessing a conversation without words. People sense that something meaningful is happening quietly. This reaction isn't negative, it's recognition. When mutual attraction exists, it creates a subtle focus that draws attention, even unintentionally. What's important is that this external awareness isn't manufactured. You're not performing or seeking validation. The signals others pick up on are organic. They come from genuine presence, shared attention, and emotional alignment. That authenticity is why it's noticeable. Forced connections feel confusing to outsiders, real ones feel clear, even when undefined. When others sense it, it's because the connection has a natural rhythm that doesn't need explanation. This external recognition can feel surprising. You may think you're being careful, private, or subtle. Yet others still notice. That's because attraction isn't just behavior, it's energy, and energy doesn't stay contained. When two people are emotionally tuned to each other, that tuning affects the space around them. People feel it in the pauses, the glances, the timing. These moments speak louder than words ever could. Sometimes this awareness acts as a mirror. Hearing others mention the connection can bring clarity. It can confirm feelings you haven't fully admitted. While you shouldn't rely on external validation to define your emotions, it can help you recognize patterns you've been minimizing. When multiple people sense the same thing independently, it often reflects a shared reality rather than coincidence. In conclusion, when others can sense the connection between you, it's often because your mutual attraction is expressing itself naturally. Through energy, presence, and emotional alignment, your bond becomes visible without effort. Friends notice, conversations shift, and curiosity arises. These signals don't create the connection, they reveal it. When what you feel inside begins to echo outward, it's a strong sign that the desire you sense isn't one-sided but shared.